Shadow Warrior 3, a promising arena shooter that squanders potential with repetition. Comedy is not used enough in video game titles, but there are some titles that have done well with the added jokes. Serious Sam is a title that takes the jokes and adds the action. Are jokes enough to push a game to the next level? Let's find out. Shadow Warrior 3 continues the series' tradition of completely rebooting the style of each game. This time it's going for a more linear arena shooter style, similar to 2013's Shadow Warrior, and it's got generally the right idea. You play as the former freelance mercenary Lo Wang, and mainly just try to get from A to B locations. This means jumping through handcrafted levels, and generally shooting and slicing your way through the various demonic mobs and mini-bosses that spawn in front of you. Whenever you're not clearing out enemies in an arena setting, you'll be parkouring between them, or using your skills to navigate some set pieces. Shadow Warrior 3 makes clear that it wants to be exciting more than anything else. Its very first fights take place on the back of that earth-threatening dragon, which you run and jump across like an action movie hero. It generally doesn't slow down from there either, and that breakneck pace is probably for the best. If you were given the opportunity to stop and think about what was happening, you might end up asking questions like, how did Lo Wang survive in a ramshackle shack on top of a mountain? Or, why did this dragon get so big when it was so much smaller at the end of Shadow Warrior 2? You are joined by different people along the way. Right from the beginning, in fact. You have paired up with Orochizilla as well as a mask that holds the essence of one of your friends who banters back and forth, quite regularly, about everything and nothing at all. The voice actors selected to play Lo Wang, Motoko, and Zilla are very good in the representations of these characters. It is great to see how good voice actors can bring out a very well thought out story from each character. Each one gives a certain nuance to the different characters. After some jokes and a small amount of story where you meet up with one of your former boss who is your enemy, who turns your side to help you, you go right into the combat part of the story. Following winding pathways with jumps and dashes aplenty brings you into new and different areas as you travel to capture this giant dragon that was released by you in the previous title. The tutorial actually has you running down the back of this massive beast. This is a very in-depth tutorial for a game that has 2 other entries into the saga. In each area, there are new minions to fight and with them a new finisher. Each finisher is more devastating than the last and only works on that particular enemy. Your main weapons consist of a samurai sword, pistol, machine guns, and more as you progress. Each weapon is able to handle each minion differently. Some are better than others. Shotguns are devastating weapons and can blast most weak enemies with great effect. Weapons can be upgraded to improve ammo amounts, explosive damage, and in some cases elemental forces. This is especially true with the katana. The same can be said about your character's skills as well. Lo Wang gets upgrades to max health, spawn drop rates for your chi blast, and explosive barrels around the map. These barrels allow you to freeze, explode, electrify, and more to your enemies. These skills and improvements go a long way in trying to defeat waves of monsters as you try to survive huge combat situations. The thing I like most about the finisher system is the buffs and sometimes weapons you get from each. There are some low-level enemies that give you double health for a time while others give you the power to freeze your enemies, and the highest level minions give you their own special weapon to use briefly. Let's just say finishers get real gruesome real fast. The amount of blood and gory rivals Doom and Serious Sam series. You get charges by killing enemies and picking up the charge orbs as indicated by golden swirls hovering above the ground. This is similar for regaining health from deceased enemies as well as ammo pickups that regenerate around the area so that you don't run out during a big fight. Killing demons keeps all of those pesky thoughts about the nonsensical story away. Shadow Warrior 3 takes the same exciting approach as Doom Eternal or Titanfall 2, emphasizing speed and maneuverability above all else. Lo Wang moves lightning fast, able to double jump high above the heads of enemies or quickly dash away from their attacks. Every arena you fight in is built around these movement mechanics, turning battles into wonderfully frantic flurries of gunshots and katana swipes. Shadow Warrior 3 lets you wall run, slide, double jump, dash, and use a grappling hook to either swing between areas or jump towards an unsuspecting demon. These enemies are a group of variously sized and variably outlandish monsters with glowing red eyes and accordion bodies that spit saw blades. There's a high level of precision to the controls as you platform between arenas, and they manage to balance keeping Lo Wang feeling super light with being really responsive. In theory, it's all about constantly moving, and weaving in and out of danger in order to survive. What's an absolute shame is that Shadow Warrior 3 spends so much time looking forward that it doesn't give you a chance to go back. Without an option to revisit levels, any upgrades you might have missed along the way are simply gone. Thankfully, these collectibles aren't hard to spot, and you'll get enough of them without exploring to easily finish the campaign. But it's too bad that missing one means you'll have to wait until a second playthrough if you want to completely fully upgrade Lo Wang's arsenal of gear and powers. When it comes to actually killing hordes of demons, Shadow Warrior 3 isn't doing anything too unique. In fact, it follows the standard FPS playbook in pretty much every way I can think of. You can shoot an enemy and chunks of them blow off in gruesome fashion, something that's been normalized in FPS games since 2016's Doom. You can zoom around combat arenas without a problem, but mixing platforming into the regular shoot 'em up isn't exactly a new idea either. It's not that Shadow Warrior 3 is doing any of this poorly. Shadow Warrior 3 still puts a heavy emphasis on its story. Each level is bookended with a cutscene that links your journey together, and the stakes are simultaneously the highest and the lowest they've ever been. An interdimensional dragon is threatening the Earth, because it's hungry or some shit, and it's up to Lo Wang to stop it. The whole thing basically exists as a cartoonish framework to hang jokes on, and half the time Lo Wang will be running directly away from the story for the most ridiculous reasons. Shadow Warrior 3 puts a bigger focus on consistency than complexity. The moment you enter an arena, it's obvious what you can do because the areas all follow the same rules. You can predict where your grappling hook will go, what enemies will appear, and so on. But Shadow Warrior 3 soon stops throwing new challenges your way, and there's very little to be mastered to sustain your attention till the end. It's so repetitive that it becomes impossible to avoid confronting its other negative qualities. Shadow Warrior 3 provides some good old-fashioned FPS action, even if it isn't doing anything particularly special within the genre. Its forgettable story gets almost entirely out of the way of its blisteringly fast combat, chock full of enemies that are fun to shoot up through largely familiar methods. It doesn't take many risks to help it stand out, but Shadow Warrior 3's quick campaign is still a gory and enjoyable gauntlet while it lasts. Shadow Warrior 3 isn't a very big game. It doesn't really innovate, either, or let you breathe. But on the flip side of that, it's focused, and doesn't waste any of your time. You're ushered from one combat encounter to another with a big smile on your face, the action never letting up, all the while bombarded with witty dialogue and visual gags that will genuinely make you chuckle. So, if that sounds like your idea of fun, jump right in. You won't be disappointed. Overall, Shadow Warrior 3 is an unbridled good time with great fights and even greater one-liners. Add in some character and weapon upgrades with a great store and that is a recipe for success in my book. With the exception of the controller issues, everything else in this game comes highly recommended by myself. Shadow Warrior 3 are available on March 1st. So what's your thoughts on this new Shadow Warrior 3 official game? Are you excited to play another blood and gory game? As always, thank you for watching. Subscribe for future contents. Leave a like. It helps me out a lot.
All the demons are dead, and the gates are still standing. You are welcome.